Hey everybody, it's me, Rumi the Comic Book Poser. I'm here today to welcome you to Enter the Poseverse. I am finally back home from the world's longest day of travel. If you paid attention to my Instagram on Sunday, I had quite the time getting from Milwaukee to Atlanta and then back to Kansas City. I was supposed to get in town on Sunday night, and I'll leave it at that. But I'm excited to be home. I'm excited to talk about what I am expecting to pick up on this week's new comic book day on the 11th, which is my first day with students. But I'm also going to pepper in the books that I really hope to get on Saturday's free comic book day. So to check out what I think you should be reading with me, I'll see you after this.
Hey, little girl, did you want to know a secret?
I got 5 on it. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Alright, before I click over and show you my pull list for the week, the reason why there wasn't a definitive rankings video on Monday, it's because it was the day that my kids were scheduled for their Collector Swap 6 video release, so hopefully you got to see what they got and how excited they were to participate in their first box swap directly. That everybody else who's had them has been amazing to send stuff to make sure the kids were included with me. So this year, or this swap, they decided that they wanted to build a box, so it was cute to see them get excited about everything and me to try and not get them to open everything at once and scream and it be an 8-second video, although it would have been funny that way. But if you also want to see what I felt about most of the books that I read last week, then you can click this link up here. I was on Comic Burrito's This Week in Comics because I was in Todd's living room in Grand Rapids and talked about which books I decided to go ahead and pick up while I was out there and how I felt about them. So you can check those. You can check that out up there by clicking that link. Number 2, Thursday night I've got a Whatnot auction. I picked up a lot of books while I was in Michigan and Wisconsin, and while I bought a lot of Spider-Woman for the PC and some new Turtles goodness, I did pick up some things that people have been looking for and asking about. So Thursday night, 8:30 Central, you can come check out the auction, see what kind of cool things that I got. But I've already started loading a lot of stuff into the app, so you can click a link in the description below and it should take you to my Whatnot profile where you can see what I've already got loaded in. So without further ado, let's talk this week's books. So the way that I think League is set up for this week is that it will have this week's free comic book day books sprinkled throughout. I know everybody's shops will have different kinds of policies on the number of books you can get. I know some shops were only allocated or qualified to get certain books, so I'm going to talk about, as they pop up, the ones that I really hope to get and why. So this week we start with a double dose of DC books, both called Batman. So I'm excited to check out Batman 89 number 1. That, if you want to talk about something that piqued my interest into the superhero world, it's the OG superhero film, right? I know things like Superman kind of predate this, or what Ferrigno's Hulk TV show was on before this, the Batman show was on before this, but you want to talk about something that kind of did a huge service of putting more comic book entertainment back into the broader media zeitgeist. I really think it's Tim Burton's Batman 89. So I'm excited to check out the interpretation of the story here. No, I didn't get to, well, maybe I saw it in 1989. I was 5. Maybe. But I know it's something that I watched repeatedly as a kid, so I'm excited to see what happens with this series. Also, speaking of things of my childhood love, Batman The Adventures Continue Season 2 number 3 comes out this week. I really enjoyed Batman the Animated Series. That was my late middle school, early high school days. That I really kind of enjoy the different take of Batman in comics in this, that it's still got that very cartoony feel. I also thought that was supposed to come out last week, but this now explains why I couldn't find it. Next from Aftershock is Bunny Mask number 3. It is no secret that I love this series. It is no secret that a lot will have to happen for me to not like it. That we're starting to understand a little bit more of the supernatural that's been going on in this series. I will say that for as much as I love the writing in this book, this is the one that Andrea Moody is on. If my memory is not too bad after not a whole heck of a lot of sleep. But Andrea Moody is one of my favorite artists. Ooh, and there's a Zerdsy cover that maybe I'll see if I can find and check it out. But this series has been gold. I think it's been worth every bit of the hype that you've seen all over the internet on it. So I'll be that kind of hype beast fanboy. Alright, we got from Aftershock, Comsi, the Dragon Incident number 1. So I want to check this out because it looks like, a mob fixer has to fight a dragon. Okay, I'm down. Children of the Atom number 6, still behind. Next, from Aftershock again, is Clans of Bellari number 2. I was really intrigued by what happened in issue number 1 in terms of looking at, the father-adopted-daughter dynamic in terms of how, she may want to do some things to shake up the order, especially kind of her questioning her adopted dad's love for the law and order, but also trading and doing deals on the back end. And then, stuff kind of hits the fan on this. I know there were a lot of people who thought that this wasn't that great of a number 1. So we'll see if I like number 2 as much as I do number 1. Hopefully I'm right. I think there's a lot of potential for this, so crossing my fingers. From Marvel is Daredevil number 33. We still get more Elektra Daredevil. We get, Murdoch Daredevil in prison working on sniffing out uncouth things that are happening in the prison. I really love the end of 32 in terms of finding out what, was really going on with Bullseye. They got me. It's pretty cool. I'm excited to check this out. This is probably towards the top of the stack for the week. From Images Deep Beyond, we talk about how much I love this series as well. That I like how there's still a lot of inherent vagueness in terms of what's happening in the, post-apocalyptic world and what they are studying and what they may be fighting. But I'm still intrigued enough to at least run with this to the end of the arc. And then if it continues, if I still love it, then I'll keep pulling it. If not, then maybe I'll trade weight arc number 3. Next up from Marvel is Defenders number 1. This is one of those classic teams that's getting a new push back into a modern telling of their story. So I'm excited to see what happens. I tend to enjoy what Al Ewing does when he writes. I know that I did not read very much of the Immortal Hulk. That's only because it was way deep in that series when I picked it up, but I've enjoyed other Al Ewing things that I've read, as you can tell by other reviews. Coming up next from Boom Studios is Eve number 4. There is a review of this on comicbookposer.com that is releasing. It either released Monday night or it's releasing Tuesday morning. Where I go on about my love of Sam Rockwell in the movie Moon, and how there are a lot of allusions to this. But I think there was a pretty cool turn at the end of issue number 3, and I think issue number 4 does a very good job kind of playing through that and really starting to question, do we really understand what is happening in the world, or do we learn something from the journey of different EUs? Next up from AWA, Upshot is Fight Girls number 2. I actually really enjoyed number 1 in terms of watching. This has a grittier Hunger Games feel to it where, they're fighting to become the new queen. That you have girls from the, 10 different provinces or districts, and the last woman standing at the end becomes the queen of the galaxy. That clearly there's an element of a rigged game to it because the person who is quite successful in the first one becomes the target. and I want to see what that, broader galactic apparatus against her looks like. Alright, next up we get a couple of free, or I guess it'll be a run of free Comic Book Day books since we're in the Fs now. I loved Black, I loved Kal Exit, I like what's happening, what happened in issue number 1 of White now. So to see what is happening in both of these, storylines from Black Mask, I'm really intrigued, especially since Kareem is, going to play a role in White based on the events of issue number 1. From Dark Horse, we've got Critical Role in The Witcher number 1. I really got into Critical Role. That I think one of the reasons why I said that I went dark on watching a lot of other people's content and commenting on things is because I got so deep and so obsessed with watching Campaign 2 of Critical Role. I'm now going back and watching, I think I'm on episode 29 or 30 of Campaign number 1, but I'm less immersed in that one that I'm trying to balance. Parent work and content creation and community member obligations to do those things. So I'm excited to see what this looks like because I have the Vox Machina Origins library edition, and then I found issues 1 and 2 of the third arc of Origins. So I'm excited to see what they do to bring the backstories of the Mighty Nine together. All right. From AWA is Resistance Uprising. I have talked about my love of all of these series, that I like to try and connect the dots between things that are happening in other AWA titles to see if I can tell the story of the broader shared universe that are going in. We get Emily, who is the main character of Moths at the moment, who will weave into this storyline, so I'm excited to see if that helps me on my quest to find things too. From Ablaze is Space Pirate Captain Harlock. Why'd I click on that? Why not? Seems like an interesting preview to me. Next we got the Trailer Park Boys comic. I really thought that this was supposed to come out before the first issue of the Trailer Park Boys get their effing comic book. So I'm excited to see how these two stories kind of play together. Because I enjoyed the issue number 1 of their comic. I don't know if that's something that I'll keep pulling, or if I'll trade rate it, but it's got activities pages in there, so hell yeah. From Penguin, I clearly want Who Sparked the Montgomery Bus Boycott. That this definitely looks like it's written for younger readers, but I know that Penguin is doing more with some of their civil rights and other notable people in history kind of lines of stories that they are writing to, create them in a graphic novel, comic book kind of medium. So these are things that selfishly I want to look at to see if they become good tools that I can either share with my kids to teach them about people who are important throughout history, or if these become a good pedagogical tool to use in the classroom. I don't know why this Zom 100 bucket list is on there. The cover looked cool to me. Of course, I'll pull Avengers Hulk to see what is happening. Also, because at last year's Free Comic Book Day, we got the tease for the Dark whatever event that is supposed to happen when all the power doesn't work and all that stuff. So I want to see what kind of crossover event or whatever they are getting ready to put forward in terms of the next big Avengers event. Alright, Batman, yeah, I'll check it out. I'm reading Batman. I'm mostly enjoying Tynian's run now. The one you got 2 back-to-back that are, if I could only get 2 books, it's these 2. The first is Bountiful Garden number 1 from Mad Cave Studios. I have a preview of Bountiful Garden number 1 up on my website, and I really think that this has the potential to be the best title from Mad Cave. That, I'm a homer for them, that I'm not gonna just like damn near anything that they do, every time there's a new issue of Nottingham out, you would hear me sing the praises of what that book has done for the publisher. But I really think, based on what I read in Bountiful Garden #1, that I think it has the potential to accelerate that publisher and put them to a lot more of the top of people's lists to be engaged in, based on how good this book was. And then clearly, Enter the House of Slaughter. Y'all know how much I love Something is Killing the Children, so this gives us a little peek into the House of Slaughter comic book series that is coming out soon. So I'm excited. We'll see if there's a first appearance controversy in the Spider-Man Venom, or if we get a COVID note. Stray Dogs. I'm excited to see what happens in this single issue kind of expanded edition. I loved that series. I'm very excited that it got optioned. I hope that translates into it being actually, created for something. So if this gives us a day in the life of Sophie, who plays some greater significance in the last 2 issues, then I'll kind of like this one-shot focusing on one of the dogs. We Live is another series that I loved. This takes place a day or 2 after the bracelets first fall to the earth, and it's about kids who are hunting for them instead of what the series focuses on, of kids with bracelets kind of hunting to the meetup location before the timer goes off. And then the last one that I've got is White Ash Season 2 number 0. I love White Ash. That I read the Kickstarted version of the trade, have gone through and read all of the single issues. I'm a huge fan of that Galarian one-shot that came out from Scout. I'm excited to see what they are developing in the Galarian project that is being kickstarted. And I think if there's anybody who's more excited than me for this issue to come out, it's my boy Greg, the Bearded Comic Bro. If there are other Free Comic Book Day issues that are coming out, then they've literally just popped up on the new comic side after I updated this a month and a half ago, when the Free Comic Book Day issues started kind of filtering out. So I don't know what my shop's policy is on these, but I think the 3 that I definitely want, 3 or 4, are going to be We Live, Stray Dogs, Enter the House of Slaughter, and Bountiful Garden. Alright, next from DC Milestone is Hardware, Season 1, Number 1. This is the book from all the Milestone stuff that I have been excited to see what is coming out, that I really enjoy what's been going on in the Milestone relaunch in the Static Shock books, but Hardware was the Milestone character that I was the most intrigued in from the 90s Milestone books, so I want to see what happens in this one. We get the Joker number 6. I'm really enjoying this run. I like seeing the relationship now between all 3 of the parties, now that they are aware of the relationship of each other. So I want to see what happens, and if we find out who maybe the big bad is, if Joker is not responsible for the destruction at Arkham Asylum. Next up from Image is A Man Among Ye number 6. That, again, I love this. I love reading what's happening in the story of Anne Bonny, kind of establishing her new crew after the events of the first arc. That, Stephanie Phillips is writing a killer story, is working with a killer creative team that keeps me compelled in this story from start to finish every issue that comes out. Alright, next we got Masters of the Universe Revelation number 2. I really enjoyed the first one. Have I watched the Motu series on Netflix yet? No. You all know I'm further behind in watching things than I'm reading things. But I like to see, if the series goes in the direction that issue number 1 kind of went, then I think watching this will be a higher priority on my list. Miles to Go number 5 comes out from Aftershock. Like I said, it feels like these issues are coming out every other month, but it's a series that I was very high on in issues number 1 and 2, and I feel like before number 5 comes out that I need to pull a Nick from Comic Burrito and binge read all of the issues that have come up before this one. From Image, we've got Silver Coin number 5 coming out. I like each different take, that I still think it's either issue number 2 or number 3 has been my favorite story, but as this one focuses on conquering and conquest, I want to see what happens, right? So this reaches back to like some of the early days of the coin, so let's go. Next is White number 2. I really enjoyed White number 1 in terms of looking at President Man, and then looking at his son as kind of the white supremacy Iron Man, and some of the fighting in the background between the characters from the Black storyline, in terms of looking at, like, how do they challenge the authority, but also not be a continual source of targeting because of their powers. We got New Day, The Power of Positivity number 2. I enjoyed book number 1 way too much. This is also probably going to be towards the top of the stack, just because of how much I enjoyed issue number 1, that it was either my 5th favorite book of the week, or it was an honorable mention when issue 1 came out. But don't sleep on this book, y'all. It's a good story. And then we got X-Force and X-Men Legends. I'm behind on both of those. But my goal is to get caught up on my short box of X after I get my classroom in order across the next couple of days. The last thing that we'll do is click on over and check out what we got going on from Scout this week. And these are items that most of them I know that I have in my possession, that I opened up my Scout box before I started filming today. So I know I have By the Horns number 4 in there that I'm excited to check out. Already talked about why this White Ash book looks like it's going to be dope. I have not read issue number 2 of Midnight Western Theater yet, but I really enjoyed number 1. I thought Black Cotton number 4 was supposed to come out a couple weeks ago, so you saw me kind of promote it in my weekly poll because it was coming out that week, but here we are now. I'm excited to check it out because y'all know how much I love some Hawkins and Foreman and the rest of the creative team in this title, that I think it's amazing. Count Draco Knuckle Duster was in the box this week, that I'm excited to check it out, that I've got it on top of things to read instead of some things that I'm working on getting caught up on. Broken Souls Ballad and Life Formed, I can't remember if they were in the box for this month, that I can check out that pile now, but you can see that Scout's got all kinds of good stuff coming out this week, and I know there are a lot of people who don't just love Scout Comics, but they love everything that Scout's doing. A little bit of a long one, but we've got, you know, the highest of high holy days, Free Comic Book Day, coming up on this Saturday, so I'm excited, and I was glad to be able to talk about some of these books as they showed up like they were part of my pull list. So anything that I'm picking up this week that you think I should run away from, anything that I missed out on, again, if you're in the chat, you're probably letting me know over there. If you're watching this on the rewind, then you're probably letting me know in the comments down below. What books are you the most excited about this week? What are you excited to pick up on Free Comic Book Day? Let me know about that in the comments down below as well. But as always, y'all, thanks for stopping by, and have a good one.
Hey, little girl, did you want to know a secret?
I got 5 on it. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4.